Hi everyone, this is Isaac from Bible Bits, and today we'll be taking a look at the topic of suffering well as a Christian. In particular, I wanted to share 3 pieces of advice which have really helped me to persevere and to press on during trying times. The first tip I have is to grieve well. It's not wrong to mourn the broken nature of our world. Sometimes suffering can be a result not of our own actions, but because of circumstances that are outside of our control. That's simply the nature of our fallen, sinful world. And it's right to mourn that. Even Jesus himself wept when Lazarus died. But the important thing is not to mourn as those without hope. Because of what Jesus has done for us on the cross, as Christians, we can look forward to a day when our tears will be wiped away once and for all. The godly kind of sorrow rightfully mourns for the effects of sin in our world, but it also is lined with a hope that is rooted in the fact that one day we will meet Jesus face to face, and on that day all our suffering will come to an end. The second thing to keep in mind is to prioritize who over why. And what I mean by that is that when we suffer, we have a tendency to jump to questions of why we are experiencing the trial or ordeal that we're experiencing. And so in those times, it's very easy to jump to conclusions about questions of fairness. While it might not be our intention, often we find ourselves thinking thoughts like, God, this isn't fair. I didn't do anything to deserve this. This didn't happen to X or Y, so why does it have to be me? What we don't realize is that when we have these kinds of thoughts, we're actually putting God in the wrong, implying that we have a better understanding than He does of what's fair, and suggesting that we could make better judgments than He can. That's exactly what God challenged Job on in Job chapter 40. By speaking of divine justice and questioning the reason behind his own suffering, Job was talking about things far too wonderful for him to understand. So God challenges Job to spend a day in his own shoes. Could Job tread down the wicked, or clothe himself in splendor? Could Job humble the proud, or sustain the whole of creation? Job, realizing that God's ways were far above his own, repented. He never found out why things had happened to him the way that they did, but he did come to recognize that the God who is sovereign over all the universe, who did not violate righteousness or justice, whose ways were divine and excellent, was the exact same God who had ordained his suffering. And surrendering to God, Job was able to have peace, trusting in the Lord of all. And I think that this has been a lesson which has been really helpful for me in my own life. I've rarely gotten much peace out of complaining or obsessing over why I'm going through the trials that I'm going through. But on the other hand, every time I surrender myself to God and trust in His higher wisdom, then I always find more peace than I thought was possible. The last thing I want to say is lean into your sufferings. While we might not be privy to all the reasons behind our suffering, we can know that one of the reasons why we suffer is to produce steadfastness. Suffering sanctifies us, shapes us to grow in godliness, and if we know this, we can lean into our suffering, looking to draw from our trials the things God wants us to grow in. This will help us to see our suffering as deeply meaningful, essential even in ensuring that we are lacking in nothing. It is for this reason that we can count our trials as joy, not because we enjoy them, we're not sadists or masochists, but because we know that they are bearing good fruit in us and sanctifying us to become more like Jesus. Well, that's all we've got time for today, but I hope that at least one of these tips would have been helpful to you in developing a better perspective on what it means to suffer well as a Christian. As always, feel free to leave any questions or feedback in the comment section down below. And if you found our channel helpful to you in any way, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so that you can stay up to date with all the content that we produce. Until next time, take care, have a lovely week, and I'll see you very soon.